Let's start then. Welcome everyone to today's general meeting. My name is AIA. In case we haven't met, I am the president of AIA Santa Barbara this year. And thank you for coming to our general meeting today. General meeting means every 3 months, we will have a member general meeting. We get together and talk about the business. And today we are very thankful for our EDI committees, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusiveness Committee organize today's presentation. So thank you, EDI, for that. Just a couple of things to bring up before we start. Just want to give you an update what is happening for the next couple of months for AIASB. We have an architect tour coming up on October 2nd. Tickets are available through the website. You can purchase the tickets anytime. We have very exciting, very beautiful projects for you to review this year. We're doing virtual this year, so you will be in the comfort of your own home to see all those beautiful homes and the structures. And the other thing is coming up towards the end of the year, December 2nd, is the Design Award reception and the gala. We haven't quite decided yet whether we're going to do it live or do it virtual because our concern with COVID, the Delta variants are everywhere right now. So we're going to make a decision towards the end of the month, beginning of October, and we will keep you informed whether it's live or virtual. One thing that many members have concern about the financial well-being of our chapter. We have had a rough time last year, as you know. We cannot do any programs. There were not enough sponsorships to support us like we used to. But this year, thanks to our sponsorship committee and program committee, they work hand in hand very hard this year to make sure that our financial well-being is taken care of. And as of today, I'm very happy to inform you that we are in very sound condition. We're doing good. So that's why we're looking forward to all those programs that are coming up. And thanks again to the sponsorship committee and particularly doing a great job this year. So we have a new member. You may know her, you may not. We have Nicole Bergio. Nicole, you're here. Yay, okay.
Yes, hello.
Nicole Bergio used to help out in the archives. If you've been to archives, you will see Nicole there. But Nicole has gotten a job from Arroyo Seco Construction. So welcome aboard, Nicole, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Ty.
Yeah.
Pleased to be here.
And thank you for today's event sponsors, Becker, Hansen, Nextel Architects. And without you, it's very difficult to have a general meeting like this. And thank you for your sponsorship. And also this month's monthly sponsor is Architectural Foundation of Santa Barbara. And thank you, AIASB, for your generosity. Now let's get into the presentation of our program today. Before I do that, I want to introduce you the EDI committee chair, Laura Bernard. Laura stepping up a big time to establish the EDI committee last year. And she has done a great job and put together all the programs with a lot of people's help. Laura gonna introduce you the members in a few minutes. And just want to recognize Laura. And Laura now is working at the Cornell Collective as a project architect. So Laura, would you be so kind to take over the presentation now?
Happily. Thank you so much, Ty. Yeah, I want to introduce this fantastic team of people who have been working really hard for, gosh, we're probably around, I don't know, 18 months or so since the EDI committee has been formed. Presenting here today is going to be Dana Lake, who's a designer at RRM, and Morgan Solorio, who's an architect over at Becker Henson Nixto. And again, thank you to that team for sponsoring today's event. I'd also like to introduce Jake Nixto of Becker Henson Nixto, who will be presenting, Paul Rupp, who I'm sure you all know from AB Design Studio. And then also just to give a shout out to some committee members who are not presenting here today, but have been integral in helping with the work that we are doing, namely Paul Poirier, Amy Tripp, and Cass Ensberg. It takes a village, and I'm just so grateful and proud of the group of people working on this really important task. So without further ado, I think we're going to kind of get into this meeting here. So where are we at? It's been a year, quite a year since last summer's wave of grief, awareness, and activism stemming from the death of George Floyd. And man, oh man, it's been a year. I mean, between the ongoing pandemic and a barrage of headlines, both local and national, there's just a lot going on, and it can all feel pretty insurmountably overwhelming at times as we're just trying to keep ourselves educated and stay active. I know that many of us were really inspired by this initial surge of activism we saw last summer, and there were also a lot of raw emotions and hard conversations, inspirational speakers, passionate calls to action. And then at a certain point, frankly, empathy fatigue kind of starts to set in. We're all incredibly busy. I mean, thank goodness, frankly. And COVID was never ending. We had to wake up and go about our daily lives. But I think the purpose of the meeting that we're having today is kind of to ask the question of what happens now? What happens today, next month, next year? How do we continue to keep moving this work forward while going about our daily lives and not just kind of letting this fall by the sidelines as it starts to fall out of the headlines? Thankfully, in this past year, AIA National and a myriad of other organizations have been really wonderful in pulling together resources to help answer questions just like these and help guide us as professionals and firms and individuals in our daily lives so that we can continue to move the needle on equity, diversity, and inclusion. So the goal today is that we're going to try and have a little bit of a conversation, kind of a panel type discussion between these various committee members that's really centered around the AIA National guides for equitable practice that they have prepared. There is a ton of information on this website, and there's going to be a ton of information in the presentation. So I just encourage you guys to buckle up and prepare. And our goal is just that maybe one or two things that we talk about today will stick in your minds, and we'll encourage you to go look it up after the fact. Yeah, just do your own work, do your own research, and just keep on moving forward. So just a quick kind of housekeeping note, our committee is comprised of designers from small firms to big firms, younger designers to seasoned professionals, employers and employees. So it's our hope that by each of us kind of sharing our personal perspective on these various items, you will find something in there that you identify with and can take back to either your personal, like professional life, or to your practice if you're a firm owner. I have to say, I'm going to take off this mask because I'm huffing and puffing behind it, and it's just not working out for me. Ooh. All right. Hi, guys. Oh, that's much better. All right. Oh, and my dog just came running up. All righty. So without further ado, let's get into this. So this is just a screenshot of the guides for equitable practice on the AIA website. And this is the resource that I was referencing earlier. These guides make the moral, business, ethical, and societal case for equitable practice, and they provide key insights to help individuals, firms, and other organizations build equity in architecture. They're part of AIA National's commitment to ensuring that the profession of architecture is as diverse as the nation that we serve. So each chapter includes real-world derived best practices, research, and other tools. I just kind of took a screenshot. They've created both an executive summary for each topic area, as well as a full report that's got the whole shebang. They're like 20 pages long. So it's a ton of info, but don't be overwhelmed. That's why we're here. So for today, what we're going to be talking about are 5 of the 9 topic areas that they cover in these guides for equitable practice. We will be addressing workplace culture, compensation, recruitment and retention, mentorship and sponsorship, and advancing careers. And then at the end of our presentation, we're going to have a brief Q&A session just to kind of talk about things further if we have time. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to toss it to Dana to talk about our first topic area, workplace culture.
Hello, everyone. So to start, positive workplace culture has a very important role in creating a more equitable practice. Firms can choose qualities that represent their business practice and use those qualities to establish guidelines on how their employees should think, act, and work together. When workplace culture is purposefully defined by a firm and is actively worked upon, the business thrives. It also paves the way for inclusion and positive relationships within the firm that increases employee retention, promotes productivity, and benefits the community we live in. And job satisfaction, collaboration, and work performance are all enhanced. And most importantly, a positive workplace environment reduces stress in employees, which with architecture is very important. We manage that stress, right? Many businesses hire people with the same values, beliefs, and ideas and believe that is enough for a positive workplace culture, but the lack of inclusion and diversity across all categories, including gender, religion, age, race, ethnicity, and culture, are critical to establishing positive work environments. Without this diversity, firms lose out on different innovations, ideas, and perspectives. Having deeper conversations about those topics also help to show employees that the employer has a deeper respect for who they are as people and individuals. This connection can go a long way to contributing to a healthy and positive workplace culture that ultimately causes employees to thrive in the workplace. So now let's dive into the panel discussion. Morgan, how can leading with empathy foster a healthier workplace dynamic?
So part of leading with empathy involves working to understand the unique needs and goals of each team member and how to best match work assignments to contribute to both performance and employee satisfaction. Team members who see their manager recognizes them in this way will be more engaged and willing to go an extra mile. Architecture can be a very time-demanding profession and can lead to overwork and burnout. Managers who are skilled with empathetic leadership can recognize signs of overwork in others due to burnout becomes an issue. This results in disengagement and turnover. Empathy fosters collaboration. Collaboration is key for good design. Collaboration and good design make happy architects who want to work hard and like what they do. Another question is just, how do we have these hard conversations? And for that, I'll turn it over to Jake.
Yeah, so part of establishing this is making sure that there's an open dialogue, a two-way street between employers, employees, managers, and production staff. So on the employee side, employees should speak up about what they're seeing, what they're experiencing, and hold the leadership accountable for that. On the employer side, it's really helpful if they can provide timely and constructive feedback so the employees can adjust their behavior. Both sides need to have a commitment to the partnership and putting in the hard work. But the onus should be on the leadership of the firm to establish methods of communication so that everyone can feel that they're able to offer feedback without retaliation. And we had a little joke, for some firms, bigger firms, you can do an anonymous suggestion box, but smaller firms, you may need to get a little more creative as the anonymity kind of goes away. So for our next general overall topic, let's pass it on to Morgan to discuss compensation.
Compensation. First off, let's break it down for why it's important. For employers, it's a way of attracting, recognizing, and retaining employees and talent. For employees, it's a method of gauging your relative value to the firm and to achieve a standard of living. I want to just pause for quickly and say, like, compensation is just a discussion, an uncomfortable one at that, but both parties need to clearly communicate values, goals, and expectations for this discussion to function properly. One of the ways is just using the same language and having similar vocabulary. So what is value? Here listed are a few things that indicate value: work performance, ethic, growth potential, flexibility, experience, qualifications, ability to work with others, location, seniority, skills, and education. But I guess now we'll open it up for discussion to Dana and how you compensate people.
Yeah, so there are multiple ways you can compensate people. We have direct, non-financial, and direct compensation. And direct compensation is kind of your obvious ones: hourly pay, salary, overtime, bonuses. Non-financial compensation is more like educational opportunities, a manager taking their employee to a site visit, showing them things like on site, giving them recognition or even quality of experience. There's also indirect compensation, which are like added benefits that some employers do give, such as like paid time off, paid leave, health and disability insurance, registration costs, education benefits, like paying for your AREs when you become a licensed architect, or as well as possibility to compensate for student loan. And that's a very important one, especially recently. The Consolidated Appropriations Act, passed at the end of 2020, extended the CARES Act student loan provisions to allow employers to make tax-exempt loan repayment contributions of up to $5,250 through 2025. This may be a valuable incentive to employees just coming from school. And this might not be feasible to offer employees all of these benefits, but perhaps it is worth offering some and asking employees which benefits would help them the most here and now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that point on student loans is really interesting. I don't want to steal Paul's thunder because I know we're going to talk about this later, but the average architecture student graduates with $40,000 in student loan debt, which is just ridiculous. Anyway, that's not what I was supposed to say, but I just found that out last night and I thought that was crazy. So I'm talking about equity and compensation, which I think we can all agree is totally critical and we all probably think is happening. But as this really large text on the screen can tell you, women are making 85 cents to the dollar in 2020 in architecture and engineering fields, and that has not changed since 2011. So yeah. Not super great. So you'll hear the term pay parity, which is just, you know, kind of the more legal sense that you get equal pay for equal work. And it's something that we all need to strive for and just recognize that, I mean, this is our field and this is the year that we're in. This is not some foreign concept happening in a world far away from us. There's an AIA report that actually was saying that average salaries for men are higher than women at every year of experience. The average starting pay difference is just a few $1,000s at lower levels, but by kind of the end of your career at higher levels, it can be like a 15% pay gap, which, I mean, just looking at what we have on the screen here, which of course is, you know, apples and oranges, but the idea of 85 cents to the dollar only equally over the course of a year is like $12,000. I mean, imagining a 15% pay gap late in your career, it's just, it's pretty stark. Anyway, Paul, on to you.
Okay, part of the equity part is fairness. And part of fairness is for employers to stay informed about what the national and local contexts are for compensation. In a place like Santa Barbara with sky-high costs for housing and obviously student loan debt, it really should impact all of the firms and their leadership to treat their staff fairly and provide them a living wage. Part of this is conducting regular performance reviews and salary audits. And one of the most important things is to support your staff to grow in their roles so you can bill at a higher rate and therefore be able to pay them at a higher rate. And that's why growing your employees and their abilities and their roles is kind of key to have them advance both financially and professionally. And Morgan will talk about some of the compensations for employees.
So employers have a role in compensation, as do employees. One of the things that is similar to employers is stay informed on legal and social context, both national and local. For example, what's your firm's workload look like? What's happening globally, like in the industry right now? What's happening on a local level? All these things are factors to consider. Another thing is try to individually gauge your value. What are your strengths within your firm? What are the things you need to work on? What does the firm need and what can you contribute? And try to be as objective as possible. Try to take your inherent biases out of it. Have goals for personal growth and share those with your employers. And I guess to end it, just be prepared to be uncomfortable. Like, this is an uncomfortable conversation, but it is a conversation where both parties need to communicate. With that, I'll turn it over to Laura for recruitment and retention.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so recruitment and retention, I think we all agree that talent is the lifeblood of any practice. I mean, we all exist to create beautiful buildings and beautiful spaces. So attracting and retaining talent is so essential for the health of our profession overall. And the impact of a firm's culture on recruitment and retention cannot be overstated. Engaging all of your employees, all of them, in equitable and inclusive practices will help recruit and retain a diverse workforce, and that's a critical piece of a firm's success. So, whoopsies, wrong direction. There we go. Why do we care about that? So this is from AIA San Francisco's study that they did, I want to say maybe 5 years or so ago, where they looked at a bunch of things, actually. This is an awesome project. Side note that I highly recommend you look at, Equity by Design. But this graph here is showing top retention predictors. And as you guys can see, I mean, having good design, this idea of doing meaningful work is really important, but shared values and being satisfied with your office culture are just as important. I mean, statistically, only 10% less. So it's really critical for us to recognize that while employees might be drawn and committed to design quality, there are other really important factors in determining whether or not they are going to stay. Another thing that this study found is that 1 in 4 employees has considered leaving their firm, so 1 in 4, which is a lot, and that 3/4 of those who quit said that they would have stayed if their desires for career development, work-life fit, and manager behavior had been met. So, I mean, aside from the fact that you're losing people, why does this matter? It's hard to put a number on how much it costs to replace somebody, but a rough number that I found through some research is it's an average of 6 to 9 months of their salary. So let's say someone's making $80,000 a year or so. You just lost about $50,000 because you did not change your office culture, your manager behavior, meet their desires for work-life fit, whatever it is, right? So these are really critical things to be aware of. And, without meeting these various criteria, the profession is really susceptible to losing employees to other fields, which quite frankly require less personal sacrifice and pay more, which I thought was a funny line that I pulled straight out of the AIA's report. So yeah, architecture and personal sacrifice. All right, Paul, do you want to talk about recruitment?
Yeah. AV is a good example where we really, as an organization and a lot of the other local firms, can kind of follow our pattern where our leadership really looks nationally and even internationally for staff. And obviously, it's one of the advantages of Santa Barbara. It's a beautiful place, and I would argue that our very robust AIA Santa Barbara chapter really makes it an attractive place to be a professional because you have all the support to really develop your craft and your ability. And that's why, obviously we don't have a professional degree program locally. And that means that those professional degrees and the people where they get their education happens elsewhere. And we do have to attract them. But I do think we as a community can make it very attractive for young, talented people to join us here in Santa Barbara, and also senior people to relocate here for a higher quality of life.
Yeah, I think it's important too to recognize that when we are recruiting, that we're not, quote unquote fishing in the same pond. The idea of like saying like, oh, everybody on this call, do you know anybody we're hiring? That gets you a more limited demographic than if you purposefully put your ads out in a variety of publications that might get you potentially a more diverse pool of applicants. Okay, so yeah, I mean, talking about retention a little bit, as I was saying before, we have to recognize that happy and healthy employees are more productive employees. And so this, okay, I'm all kinds of lost. Here we go. This is back to the Equity by Design survey that AIASF did, but these are some of the top rated workplace culture initiatives. I have to say, I was really surprised that a break area was like so critical in making people happy, but good to know. And whether you're implementing items on this chart or other ones, I think it's just really important to recognize that we need to take care of each other as employees and employers, not just because we love each other, but also because it's good for the bottom line. So kind of back to what Jake was saying earlier about soliciting feedback, whether it's an anonymous feedback mechanism or exit interviews or something else, we just have to make sure that we're keeping that conversation open and understanding what employees are looking for in terms of their work-life balance, office culture, etc. Jake, I'm going to toss it back to you now.
All right. So the idea of kind of workplace retention dovetails pretty nicely into the next AIA topic of advancing careers, kind of how we advance in the field of architecture. So when we talk about career advancement, it's often assumed that an individual will take the lead in advancing their own career. However, what's less often acknowledged and yet equally, if not more important, is the need for more emphasis on the responsibility of employers in assisting the career advancement of their employees. Workplace factors that are controlled by leaders and managers play a significant part in who progresses, what paths they take, and whether they ultimately stay in the profession. With that in mind, equitable and inclusive leaders and workplaces help their employees navigate these challenges and also support the development and advancement of all employees impartially. So, we all know that architecture careers will have peaks and valleys. Even with all these ups and downs, most architects are motivated by a common desire for meaningful work and belief in the intrinsic value of architecture. Yet in spite of how strongly motivated many people are to stay in the profession, there are equity issues that affect professional growth and contribute to work-life conflict. Is everyone going to get equal support at the valleys of their career? The answer to this can stall or even end the careers of individuals with identities underrepresented in our industry. So let's look at how employees perceive their opportunities or pathways for professional growth. In 2016, the AIA surveyed its members on the topic of diversity in the profession of architecture. The results show a significant percentage of both people of color and white women felt that they are less likely to be promoted and believed that existing resources and efforts were not sufficiently supportive. And it's not just architecture. Researchers have found that race and gender factor into the speed at which one moves along their career pathway in many different professions. Similarly, in the same survey, the top 3 reasons noted for underrepresentation of women in the profession were work-life balance, long work hours, and lack of flexibility. The desired work-life balance relationship between your inside work and life outside of work varies by individual. For one employee, long hours can be satisfying, while for others, they can be burdensome. Time is ultimately often the source of work-life conflict with respect to both the numbers of hours worked and how work time is scheduled. So what can firms and managers do to promote an equitable, diverse, and inclusionary workplace? A few things. Emphasize the quality of architecture work rather than the quantity of architecture work. Encourage time away from the office based on stated policy and supported for everyone. Establish criteria for pay and promotion that are clear and based on performance, not time and service. And allow for flexibility in terms of variable pace, workload, location, and schedule. Recognize that different individuals have different needs at different times. Assign substantive assignments, roles, and duties regardless of identity or schedule. And then in general, kind of the last slide is to move away from a corporate ladder structure and towards a corporate lattice that supports a wide range of architecture, career paths, and areas of expertise. So with that to Laura for.
I was definitely talking on mute. Haven't figured that out yet. Sorry, Jake. I'll just share from my personal experience, working here at Cornell. It's really critical that firms are purposefully growing their younger designers and helping support them in broadening their education and advancement as an architect across all levels. And so they're just not getting pigeonholed into, picking up red lines, doing renderings, things that they're probably really fast and good at, but aren't necessarily growing them as architects. And I know that my office has specifically made an effort to do that with me and to grow me into an architect. And I was able to get my license. And I felt really, not really confident, but like somewhat confident taking the tests, just because they had made sure to give me the variety of experiences that I needed to be prepared for that. And I think that's something that's really critical that we do for all of our younger designers. Paul Poirier, are you on the call? Do you want to chime in a little bit? I know that you had some thoughts on how partners and younger designers need to really team up to create a success for a firm.
Yeah, I think it's important to involve the younger people and sort of to mentor them. When I accept somebody into the office as a beginning architect, we take definitely a view of working out with them the things that they need to learn and the experience that they don't have, and work that into their general workflow so that we're able to make them more valuable in the shortest amount of time. If somebody maybe has a lot of experience doing drawings but no experience in the field or no experience doing concept design, we'll focus on giving those folks an opportunity to participate in design charrettes and maybe get out in the field and do Procore and review submittals and that sort of data, write specs maybe, so that they can learn about those other aspects of the job to get them a well-rounded education.
The perfect transition to mentorship and sponsorship.
Okay,
It's almost like we planned it.
Okay, so mentorship and sponsorship, why is it important? Well, a win-win for all that participate. Research indicates mentorship and sponsorship creates deep connection and satisfaction for all who participate. Apprenticeship and collaboration is in the DNA of architecture. We're a collaborative profession. We collaborate with our clients, we collaborate with our boards. It's that kind of process. Architecture is a team endeavor, and mentorship is the foundation to join the roles of the generations to create great work. We can have an immediate and tangible positive impact to have our extraordinary profession as local professionals create diversity. Opportunity for firms to advocate for the young and recruit and develop talent from all communities, including those that are poor and maybe don't know any architects. Everybody learns, everybody teaches. When we teach, we learn more deeply and refine our best practices, and the profession benefits from all those practices. Upward mentoring is created as the young teach the mature professions the latest tools and technologies. We all know how important our young staff is to use robust tools that are available now digitally and through the different internet mediums. Architecture is created by people and their knowledge, so we engage, inspire, and educate people from all walks of life and create architects that reflect the amazing diverse visions of beauty and meaning in our work, better reflecting both our national community, our regional community, and our local community. There are approximately 160,000 architects nationally. If you take a look at this pie chart, we can see that we have an incredible opportunity, both locally and nationally, to reach out to our young and impact these statistics to have architects and practicing architects more closely represent the distribution of diversity of society in general. And many young people from communities, either low income or struggling urban communities, don't even know that to be a design professional is an option. And we at our local level have that opportunity to make kids aware that they can make this choice. And so with that, I'll kick it to Laura for some panel discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that we need to consider when talking about mentorship is just perhaps things that we wouldn't even recognize relative to empathy for any young mentees we might be working with. For example, like if you decide to set up a coffee date, great, but like, does the kid that you're meeting with have access to a car or public transportation to get there and meet with you? Are you setting it during working hours for a job that they really need and can't afford to take any time off of? So just really developing our own intercultural competence, our listening skills and empathy, and recognizing that as we are reaching out and working to mentor this next level, next generation of designers, that we're really doing it with an open mind.
And
Paul?
I would add that the culture of our firm is we recognize that every staff member has great skills and creativity and contributions to offer to our work. And it really makes us a powerful collaborative organization where the young, the old, the knowledgeable, the kind of fresh out of school, those that are aspiring to school, we all collaborate on our work and how we do our work. And it makes it interesting, engaging, and transformational, where through collaboration, often our projects have a very big capital D design content, because some of our youngest members contribute great ideas that transform sometimes a modest project into something that really has impact for our client and the context in which the project happens.
Awesome.
Yeah, and understanding what each generation, culture, demographic values, and just sharing that with everyone, it really kind of brings that level of collaboration that we all need. Something that I, a millennial, I have experienced is very different than something what like you, Paul, have experienced. And just being able to talk and share that within a firm really leads to just new and innovative ideas that creates a much better, robust project and a healthier workplace.
Yeah, and I just want to kind of mirror what Paul and Paul have really alluded to, that you're making a better workplace and you're making better employees when you actively work to grow them into the people that you want to have working for you. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to just pause us for a moment here because we have a little interruption from Ty. Ty, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
All right.
I am deeply touched by the presentation today. Very, very touching. I think mentorship and sponsorship has been a great core value for AIASB for so many years. I remember when I first started out, not knowing what to do, and this mentorship, the people I ran into till today still make a big difference for me. And we are very lucky that we have mentors and sponsors in Santa Barbara. You know, if you're looking at the components of our members in this chapter, you know, we are truly a EDI proven community. You know, I can never imagine I can be a volunteer or play a role for AIASB, but it happens. So I'm very grateful for those mentors and sponsors. And today, there is someone we truly want to appreciate and to recognize, someone who has been a mentor and sponsors for us for nearly 2 decades. So today, with great pleasure and honor, we want to present our dear friend, Paul Rupp, a certificate of recognition for 20 years of service, helping mentors hundreds of young people, offering guidance and support to those wanting to enter the design profession. So Paul, congratulations. we want to recognize at this special moment that you're a special place in our heart. And Paul, are you there? Did you want to say something, or did you get the certificate?
Yeah, I haven't opened it, but Tara's got this off, putting little hearts. Okay. Yeah, and what I'd like to say is that I'm really kind of humbled by this recognition, but what it really is to me is a tremendous reflection of our culture here at AIA Santa Barbara, where it is just an amazing collaborative esprit de corps culture that doesn't happen by accident. You know, all of our membership have embraced each other to help each other practice at an extremely high level. And my main mentor started mentoring me in 1975 when I was 15. And it's Bill Bain Jr. of MBBJ, a very fancy firm out of the Northwest, and then grew to be a national firm. And he told me when I was 15, I don't have competitors, I only have colleagues. And I have embraced that all of my career. And I really feel like this AIA Santa Barbara, we are colleagues. And the thing that I've learned through the years is I don't compete against people and other firms. I compete against the standards that my colleagues set. And that's where in this community here, people do fantastic work. They do inspired projects. They do beautifully executed projects. And for the scale of our community, it's just astonishing to me, the quality of our work and the quality of our community based on those design professionals. And that's why, from my standpoint, I have had such, you know, like, although I kind of held the light of making this important, it's our community that made this happen. And I can report almost every year, you know, a half dozen young people launch a career in the design profession because of all of you. And you all know that you hire them, you mentor them, you make presentations at their schools, you draw with them at Kids Draw, like the Architectural Foundation, you share your work with your communities, and you do for credit internships, paid internships, and more importantly, you talk to them, you encourage them. Architecture's hard and challenging, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. And I must say that I'm, you know, 4 decades into this. I only have 4 more to go before I'm done. And like my many mentors, I'll never retire. I'll always do this. But I just am so, one thing I can say is all the mentoring I do, I get 10 times more out of it than I put into it. Because you know, a lot of the technology tools I embrace, I was upward mentored. I was demanded from young kids that you've got to learn this BIM stuff, and you have to learn how to use BIMX, and you have to learn how to use Bluebeam, and you have to learn how to use it as a creative process. And that's why our young people are smart, they're capable, and okay, they don't know so much at the beginning, but they know a lot of stuff that we don't know. And that's why I can just tell you that I just would like to take this opportunity. Please join me if you aren't active in this process. We have lots of young people that we work with all the time, and often you just don't know what it means to a young person. Many times from their challenging backgrounds, mom and dad work 4 jobs and they don't get to see their kids, and they're not college graduates, so they don't know how to advise a young person how to make a career in design. And just know that if you have this interest, reach out to Tara. She'll get you in contact with me, but I have lots of young people who would love to talk to you, learn your wisdom, and also teach you some things. And that's why I'm just absolutely, you know, just so touched by our organization making this important, but making it in the context of equity, diversity, and inclusion. Because we as a profession are an amazing profession. We do amazing things, but we haven't reached out to all of our society yet. And there's so many talented kids who don't even know what an architect is or what they can do. and we can help them discover it. And no, we're not investment bankers. We don't make endless amounts of money, but we make a good living, and we are so blessed to be able to create for a living. That's my little 2 cents there, Ty. So I'm very touched, and thank you. And I'll open up my certificate on my own time.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very, very much. I know Karen, Jimmy wanted to say something. Karen, would you like to say something?
No, I just put my hands up to recognize Laura. I said a
Okay.
clapping. So
Okay.
no, and I didn't, but now that you give me the floor, thank you, Paul, for all your work. I know you've referred some of your mentors over my way, and I've always enjoyed everyone that I've met, and hope that I can contribute as much as I can when I engage with them. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Paul, I encourage you to read the chat box here. You have lots of messages of love, which I will second on behalf of the EDI committee, and just say you have been a cornerstone of our work. You are absolutely phenomenal. You mentor us in every committee meeting and every email. And I don't know if Paul does this with everybody, but he randomly sends me these encouraging emails. He'll be like, "Great job, Laura, you're doing such important work." And every time they come through, I'm like, "Oh, Paul, you're just so wonderful." So
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So Laura, you have something
Yeah,
more
I
to
think,
conclude the presentation with?
yeah, I mean, on that wonderful, loving note, we're pretty much at the end of our presentation here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again just to put this, yep, I think you're looking at my screen, to put this home screen up with the link, which no one's going to type a link, just Google AIA Guides for Equitable Practice. And I really encourage you guys to go take a look at this. As I said at the beginning, it's an extensive resource, so don't be overwhelmed. But just, you know, as you can peruse, there's a lot of really interesting kind of case studies and personal testimonials that I think can be applicable to firms of any size, which I know in Santa Barbara, a lot of times like AIA stuff is targeted towards larger firms and it doesn't really apply to us. But from reading through this material, I can tell you that there's a lot that does apply to what I'll call like the typical Santa Barbara office, which I know varies a lot. But yeah, just thank you guys so much for sitting with us and listening today. You know, in order to have a positive impact on this profession, it's so important for all of us to be mindful, educate ourselves, and then put in the work. And whether today was step 1 for you or step 20, we're really grateful to have you here. And if you do want to join us as a committee, you are always welcome. We meet every other Friday at noon. And if you want to join us, just go ahead and reach out to Tara and she can let you know when our next scheduled meeting is. I think that's it for me now. Anyone from the committee want to say anything else, or are we moving on to Q&A? Looks like we're good. All right, on to Q&A, which it looks like we've got, I think we can go to 1:15, so we do have some time if anyone does have questions. So I'll open the floor if you want to either just unmute yourself and speak or try and raise your hand with a little emoji. Up to you.
So one thing, question I have is that we all want to do our share mentoring the emerging professionals as many as often as we can. What is the challenge for me is to providing the financial support and the work related to the mentorship. And I haven't been doing this very long, you know, just maybe just a little bit less than 2 years. We went from 2 people before COVID, now we have 6 people. Thanks to Paul. I asked Paul, how can I be a part of this mentorship? And he encouraged me to take on more. Now I'm in the midst of having the best time in my life with those youngsters. But every now and then, especially the beginning of the month, you know, I have to contemplate, well, do I have enough project to support those youngsters? So I don't know, for those of you who has been doing this for many years, are there any encouraging words for inexperienced entrepreneur like me, how to proceed, or should I be expanding? Should I be what should I be looking for in the months or years to come? That's my question.
Well, I have not been at this for many years, but as someone who has received mentorship, I can say that just opportunities and conversations go such a long way. I mean, yes, it's amazing if firms are able to pay for like the licensure exams or things like that. But just, I mean, without any financial investment, just giving your time, which is a financial investment, and really working with these youngsters, as you say. I wonder if I'm a youngster. I think is just really impactful. So thank you for that, Ty. I'm not sure if maybe anyone else on the committee or frankly, anyone in the meeting has any other thoughts to share. We're a pretty open bunch here, so just speak up.
Hey, this is Paul. I think that viewing, I've had a number of employees because I've had employees since like 93. And I think they go through a transition. First, they're struggling to get the details and the factual part of architecture down and some design capabilities, and it's very internal focused. Like they're trying to get the skills so they can master architecture, be a good designer, be technically proficient. And then after they get that down, they feel like they really have to conquer the technical aspects and permitting and all that stuff. Then they go into this other transition of having to learn how to work with others because there's not enough time to let one person do everything on every single job. Then they have to learn how to collaborate. So I think found that blending collaboration with the technical learning earlier on, rather than focusing purely on how to do the red lines right or how to get the one thing they're working on right. They need to really learn how to work together cooperatively, whether it's with a consultant or somebody else in the office. And that's super key to getting to the finish line, which is technically proficient and a team player to be able to work with the teams. Because the contractor's a team, the client's a team. And if you view everybody as a teammate, I think Paul Rupp said, although the contractor has a separate profit center from my firm, that then the developer client, really, if you don't work as a team, you're working against each other for profit, as opposed to working to accomplish something where everyone can profit. So the mentality goes how my business works with the people we work with and collaborate with, as well as how people that work within my office learn to have a collaborative mentality about all of those aspects.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Paul. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. All right, Ty, do you want to close us out? I can share my screen again. I know we've got a couple upcoming events to announce.
Okay, thank you, Laura.
Of course.
So just a minor gentle reminders that these are the events coming up this month. There are a couple of webinars. One is the window design, the other one is lighting. Women's conversation group still going on strong. And if you go down to State Street at the end of the month, you will see AIA flags on State Street. We do this each year in conjunction with the architect tours, which is coming up on October 2nd. So thank you again, everyone. Especially we like to thank Laura and EDA committee members to put up such a beautiful presentation. And I learned so much just by joining the webinar today. And thank you so very much. And we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Laura. Great job.
Great job, Laura.
Great job to the team.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
All right.